Welcome to Chemistry Podcast, episode 121 from the Photography Show 2022. We've got all the brands here. We've got DJI over there. We've got Vanguard, Sony, Canon behind us, Nikon over there. It's going to be an amazing show. There's loads and loads to see, to learn, to touch. It's going to be an amazing show. So I'm going to take you through. We're going to have a look at some of the stuff on offer here. I'm going to have a chat with loads of people because lots of our former guests are here, lots of friends of the show. And it's going to be an amazing episode to look forward to. Right, we're here with Canon. Lots of new and exciting stuff happening at Canon. I'm here with Mehdia Methal. Mehdia, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm already sweating. It's so much on at the show today. It's incredible.
It's exciting for the first day, and especially for me, the first event doing this role. Very exciting. And as you said, we do have exciting products, especially the R10 and the R7 that we launched in May. So most of the photography show customers haven't actually seen those cameras. So we've been really busy talking about those. But we still have the R3 that we literally launched just before last year's TPS.
Yeah, so last year we were one of the first people to see the R3 in action because I think it had been launched about 3 days before the show.
It was the 14th. We launched it on the 14th, and then 3 days later it was the photography show. And we were busy then. But then again, the R10 and the R7, again, new technologies, they are our first APS-C RF EOS cameras. We brought even a couple of RFS lenses. So great addition to the EOS range. They're small, compact, and more affordable, but they're actually packed with loads of professional features from even the R3. The autofocus, for example, is from the R3 on both cameras, which is amazing.
Fantastic. You've also, since the last show, brought out the R5C. Tell me a little bit about that camera.
That's one of my favorite ones on the video side. So that is our, basically, it's a true hybrid, because with our Cinema EOS cameras, you usually get video capabilities. When it comes to the still side, the only option you can get around it is to get frame grabs, basically. The R5C is our second cinema camera with an RF mount after the C70, but it's the first one that gives you full capabilities to take stills. So the R5 capabilities on the still side, but a more advanced and more professional menu on the video side. It's basically the easiest way to describe it is one camera, two operating systems, an EOS photo system and a Cinema EOS menu on the same camera.
And so it doesn't matter where you come from, whether you're a stills photographer or wants to go into video, you're used to the controls and you just flick a switch and it switches over to cinema mode.
And you do get a lot more. So for those, for example, that use the R5, which is great for video, you do get more professional format. So you've got the XFAVC option for those not keen on the MP4. You can record RAW for as long as you need to, as long as you've got a memory card big enough. And then because of the new multifunction sheet that we have on the R3, for example, you can add professional XLRs. And that obviously takes it to another level, which is, said, flexibility that you don't have on the stills cameras. One thing to mention, even the R7 and the R10 do have this new multifunction sheet, which means you can use those Tascam XLR adapters on those cameras as well. They don't have that limit. One of the benefits going back to the R5C is because it's a cinema camera, it does have a fan, which means you can record for as long as you want without having to worry about the camera overheating as well.
Fantastic.
Don't have that limit, that 30 minutes limit that you have with some of the Poto cameras as well.
Excellent. There's also something, some new offerings on the lens side, I believe.
Yes. So if we go in on the professional side, so in Feb, for example, we launched the RF 1200mm. It has been very, very popular here on the lens bar. So if you haven't tried it, definitely worth testing it. The RF 800mm as well. On the smaller side, we do have a new RF 24mm 1.8 macro. Again, this show is the first show where we're actually showcasing that lens. And a 1535 as well. Again, a compact RFS.
And as always, as every year, Canon doesn't only showcase products, lenses, camera bodies, but you also have a lot of stuff going on educational stuff on the stages. Say a bit about those.
So on the bite-sized stage, that's where if you got, like, for example, an EOSR system camera, you're not sure about how to set it up, or even for those that for us an R5C or a C70 on the video side, and then, again, they're not sure how to set it up, that's the perfect place to be. You learn. We have Dave Newton. He's been going through how to set up different EOSR system cameras, focusing on the autofocus as well, because there is a lot that the EOSR system cameras can do. So many ways of setting it up. And hopefully on the bite-sized stage, you'll be able to learn that. The same on the video side with Elisa. And there are even talks on print. So for those interested in large format printers, or the best way to print their photographs, because you can have great images, but if you don't have the right printer and the right settings for print, you might not get the results that you're after. And then we have our own big stage, or the live stage. Again, inspirational talks from a wide range of speakers, most of the speakers that we've never had here before as well. We have one probably to mention is Heathcliff O'Malley, who is a press photographer. I think one of the interesting stories is the fact that he was actually in New York during the 9/11. So I think that's one of the stories that he was going to discuss during his talk. We have kind of ballet dancer turned photographer from the Birmingham Royal Ballet as well. Basically talking about his journey, moving from a dancer to photographer. We have filmmaker as well. A wide range of genres as well. So I definitely, for those who are at the show, the talks are free to join, as long as, especially for the live stage, you might need to get there early if you want to guarantee a seat.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. As always, every year, that's what we expect from Canon. Lots of great new products, lots of great new learning experiences. I'm so thrilled to see you guys again this year. And thank you, Mehdia. Absolutely. So I'm here with Kaylee Greer. Kaylee, how are things?
So good. Oh my gosh, this is my first time ever at the photography show, and I'm loving it. There's so much energy. There's so much going on. And I love that. And after 2 years-ish, 2+ years being stuck inside, I'm a massive extrovert. So I'm always looking for somebody to talk to. So it's been amazing just to be around so many like-minded people, and everybody's passionate about the same thing. And it's just so beautiful and inspiring to be here amongst all these creatives.
So you're doing a number of talks at the photography show. Tell me what you're talking about.
Okay, so actually, I'm doing one really big official one, and that is on the super stage. It's crazy. I'm so excited. That's on Tuesday, and that's called The Secrets to Capturing the Best Dog Photos Ever. I hope I don't blow it up to be too much. It's really got to live up to the name. It's got to deliver. So that's on Tuesday, and I'm so excited about that. And then I've been doing book signings at my publisher Rocky Nook's booth. And then I just did a live podcast interview with Dave Clayton and Glyn Dewis from He Shoots, He Draws podcast. That was a ton of fun. I've never done a podcast live, so I'm pretty happy with that. And now I'm just chilling, hanging out.
So you've just been doing a number of workshops up in Scotland. Did you come directly from Scotland down here? Or?
Actually, I had a little break first. I was home for about a month or so before this. And then after this, I'm going to Spain for another set of workshops. And I have 5 days at home before I turn around and come right back overseas. So, but I had to go home to see my dogs. I got to give them a big squish because they've been very patient waiting for me this whole year of my weird, wild adventures.
How many dogs have you got?
I'm 2, and they're the lights of my life. They are so magical. I can't stand it. They teach me what it is to be good. They teach me about joy every day. They teach me how to be a good human, how to forgive, how to love. And they truly fill up every moment of my life with yellow sunshine. They're 2 rescued dogs, 2 rescued pit bull mixes, and one of them only has 3 legs. And so she teaches me a lot about resilience and forgiveness, like I said, because she went through some hard stuff before I met her, which is how she lost her leg. So she really is kind of like my little personal dose of magic every day.
Are they used to modeling for you already?
Yeah, they're really, really used to it. And lucky for me, they're both absolute monsters for treats. So they love treats so much, they're happy to do quite literally anything as long as I bring some pepperoni or beef jerky or peanut butter.
So my dog is completely toy motivated. He doesn't give a damn about treats whatsoever. But as soon as you got a tennis ball, he would do anything.
That's amazing. So often I find that in like border collies and breeds like that, where they're like, so they actually couldn't, like you said, give a damn about food, which is interesting. And sometimes when I get on location for like a big job and my dog model doesn't like treats, and I find that out pretty quickly at the beginning, I like internally panic and go, oh my God, how am I going to do this today? It's so hard. But if they love a ball or a toy or something else, then you can kind of use that in place of treats. So that's cool. As long as they like something, we're good.
So my daughter, who's 11, who loves dogs and loves photography, and inspired by your book, has decided that she wants to be a photographer, apparently. She got this little squeaker thing that works like a treat on our dog. So she squeaks it once and he stands her attention straight away. Do you use like similar tricks?
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. She already knows. See, she's going to be a star. Yeah, that's a huge one, is the little squeakers that go like inside the dog's toys. Those are like meant to emulate prey, right? Like, I hate to think of it, but like prey and distress. So taking those out of the speed, well, you can leave them in the toy, but it makes it a little easier as you're photographing to just use the little squeaker. That is an awesome way to do it. And then if they don't respond to that, you could try weird stuff like a harmonica, or sometimes they use like hunting calls, like calls that they use for like duck calls and rabbit calls and stuff like that.
Makes you blow it?
Yeah, you blow into them. Exactly right. And if not that, then you can use your own voice. You can do like weird stuff with your voice. You can bark. You can, and you can kind of build up like, kind of thing. And as you get higher in pitch, you get those like head tilts. You know what I mean? And that stuff is so endearing in photography. So you can't worry about looking like an idiot in front of lots of people when you're photographing dogs.
I think, as my dog would attest to that, I always look like an idiot in front of him.
Yeah, no, I hear ya. The nice thing about dogs is they don't judge you and they always love you, no matter what, even after they've seen you naked.
Well, not too sure about that. But if you had one tip for somebody who wants to get into photographing their pet, if you had one tip, what would it be?
Make it a positive experience. I know that sounds like really cliche and kind of boring, but the thing about it is, like, often I'll meet people and they're like, oh, my dog like hates the camera. They always say that. My dog gets, whenever I take out my phone, he immediately like turns away. And there is a reason for that. It's very common because people make it really stressful for the dog. The second they take the phone or the camera out, they want something out of the dog. And so they get a little bit like, their energy gets a little bit like tense, and they get frustrated if the dog doesn't work for them quickly. It's kind of like with your own child, right? Like, you get more frustrated with your own kid than you would with someone else's kid, right? So with your own dog, it's the same way. You have to have a ton of patience. And you make it super positive, because usually people make it kind of negative for them. They go, oh no, here comes that box that makes my life heck for a minute, right? Because my owner goes like, look, Fluffy, look. And it's too much. The energy's bad. So you take out the phone and then you immediately cover it in treats. And then you say like happy things like, oh, we're going to go do like, we're going to have a photo shoot. And you're like, raise your voice up, and you just make it like the heavens are going to open up and treats are going to pour into their open mouths.
And I think that's generally, when it comes to dog behavior, it's generally a thing that your energy really reflects on the dog. I've just recently got my dog used to having his teeth brushed, and he was terrified at first. And now that we've turned it into a game, into a fun experience, he loves it. He just basically every evening, because apparently we have to brush his teeth every evening. I don't know why, but that's the thing. So the vet says anyway. But he now loves it. It's like a game to him. And it's really just because we changed our energy, I think.
Exactly. You're 100% right. It's like, a little bit about like dog training and dog body language. And I always say, by the way, your dog must have the cleanest teeth in all of Germany.
Well,
that's pretty good every single night. Yeah, I mean, I always say that anybody who's trying to get into like dog photography or pet photography, if they have a training and animal training background, they have a huge leg up on the rest of us. They already have like 50% of what they need to be successful at the job.
The thing is, like, that really translates into portrait photography as well. Because as a portrait photographer, I know that if I can connect with the human in front of me, then it's going to make everybody's life easier. The client will have an easier experience, and it's going to be more fun, and the results are going to be better.
That's exactly right. I mean, you're hitting that nail right on the head. It's the same thing. It's like you want to make your subject comfortable in front of the camera, And with dogs, the added challenge is that they don't speak English. You know what I mean? But it's the same idea. It's like connecting with them, letting them give you like parts of their personality, not necessarily trying to like manhandle that out of them, but letting them deliver it to you. And that's, I think, the difference between, when you see work maybe of pet images that maybe looks a little forced or the pet maybe looks slightly uncomfortable, it's because I think something was kind of trying to be like physically really drawn out of the animal rather than being patient enough to wait for them to give it to you, which is very similar to a human portrait subject.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, we're all animals too. That's how I see it. Kaylee, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for giving us some time, and hopefully we'll see you on the podcast for a full episode soon.
Yes, I think so. We're going to make that happen, definitely. I'm so excited.
Great. That's Kaylee Greer. We'll see you soon. See what the cat dragged in? Do you remember that?
Same as last year, yeah. Going off course. How you doing?
I'm here with Tommy Reynolds. Tommy, it's great to see you at the show again.
Great to see you, man. Great to see you.
So you've been doing some talks.
I have, yes. I've been doing a mixture of talks on external stages and also working on the Pixpro stand, which weren't here last year, so I'm glad that they're back here. So I'm doing a mixture of demos and talks as well.
So what were you demoing at the Pixpro stand?
So they've got some brand new products this year. So they've got some flat pack softboxes, which we've been playing around with. They've got a brand new optical snoot as well. So we've been having fun with those brand new modifiers on the Pixpro stands. Yeah.
What were your talks about?
The talks, I'm giving a couple of talks on the Turning Pro Masterclass stage, talking about the realities of going pro. So a few years ago, I spoke about maybe the all singing, all dancing nature of becoming a freelancer and how good it can be, but realized I didn't really talk about any of the realities of what really happens behind the scenes. So I hope it was negative for in a negative way, but more empowered people to stop them making any naive decisions that maybe I made growing into it. So yeah, it was talking more about the realities of going pro. I'm talking on the photo live stage, doing a demo there about Woodray, and I'm doing one more on the photo live stage, talking about video specifically for photographers. So the introduction and how you can utilize it as not only a marketing tool, but also it's just a great thing to have, and you don't need to have it in manual mode. You can shoot great content even if it is in auto.
Fantastic. Or the other thing that's new compared to last year is, of course, you've become a father.
I have become a dad. Yeah, he's 5 months old already. It's gone so quick.
Did you find, like, how do you find it dealing with having either a newborn or having a toddler around and trying to get all your photography work in, editing and all the rest of it?
Well, taking this in particular, the show in particular, I had a wedding the day before the first day. So I shot that, went home, did my daddy duty, helped with the night feed, and then got to bed about 2, woke up at 3, was on the road back again at 4 to get here. So I didn't have much sleep that night. But in general, yeah, it's I thought I had my time management skills down, but when, as you all know, when you become a dad, you've got to have it down. And I was actually talking about that very thing during my Turning Pro talk about the realities of going pro, and talking about how becoming a dad, you really have to nail it. So yeah, now I almost treat my job, even as a freelancer, like a 9-to-5 job. And then once I'm done, I am done. I am with my family, I'm with my boy, and finding that harmony, that work-life balance.
It's really easy as a creative to get to that point where you end up working 24/7. But when you have the responsibilities of a child or a family in general, it's so important to just limit that, and concentrate on spending time with your loved ones.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think, again, finding that work-life balance, it was my last slide in my talk, find it for the key to success. I used to think the key to success was progression. I had that mentality before we moved into our home, before I was married, before I had a kid, which was only 2 years ago, by the way, all of those things. I've done so much growing up in that time. But even on the stages, I said the key to success is progression. If you're not progressing, you're not succeeding. But now I don't believe that is right. I think that's the wrong mentality, as you said, where you can easily work 24 hours and neglect your family, your friends. So now I believe the key to success is harmony and finding that work-life balance, which, as we know, is so important.
Absolutely. What is the one thing that you're looking forward to the most when coming to the photography show?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say about George, about my boy growing up. Okay. Obviously, the social element, of course. It's so nice to finally put names or faces to names that you've seen who you might be following online or they've been following you.
Yeah.
this is the one thing in the calendar that I love to come to. It's my favorite thing. I love just meeting up with new people and old friends as well, of course. Definitely the social element is my favorite part.
Fantastic. So for all of you, if you're thinking about coming to the photography show, remember that it's not just about the latest gear, the latest lenses, the latest camera bodies. It's really all about meeting people. Tommy, thank you so much for talking to us, and I'm sure we'll have you on the show in the not too distant future.
Thank you so much, man. Take care.
Remember, listen to the audio version when you're driving.
To mix things up a little on the Camera Shake podcast, I'm Dave Williams. I've been on the show 3 times, which I think is more than Tommy, just so you know. And this is Larry Tiefenbrunn from New Jersey, USA, who designed, invented, came up with, manufactured, came up with all the solutions for, put to market, everything you need to do, basically, to run a product, did the Platypod and the Platypod. We're here at the photography show at the NEC, so he's overseas having a great time, meeting a load of Brits. But Larry,
yes, sir.
What is the story of the Platypod? How did it happen?
The story of the Platypod, I've been on the podcast once. I don't know how you got on there 3 times. All right. The story is that we started out, my wife and I were on a trip in Utah to Bryce Canyon, and we trotted down about 1,000 feet. What is that in meters? About 300 meters? Yeah, which was very nice on the Navajo Trail. And I was carrying along with me a 5-pound traveler's tripod. And no problem going down. Then coming up, there was the issue. We had to stop several times, breathless. It was difficult. I looked around to see what I could do to take a portable tripod with me that was heavy duty and didn't take up any space in my camera bag. And you know the twisty bendy ones, they're very nice, but don't really handle very heavy duty equipment.
Yeah.
And they take up the space basically of a telephoto lens.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that? So I was looking for a plate. And as it turns out, nobody made one. So I got together with a friend who's in the metals business, and we said we could do this. And we put together an older version of this, but basically an aluminum plate with a titanium bolt in it. And that is where the Platypod story began and has grown ever since.
So the reason I use it is similar. It's for weight saving, but quite often it's for weight saving when I particularly need to do a long exposure or a time lapse or something like that where I need the stability, or to evade the tripod police.
Oh, yes.
So these people are interesting people. They wear yellow jackets. They're quite often very excited by their jobs and keen to come and tell you that you're not allowed to use a tripod.
Where do you find the tripod police?
Cathedrals, churches, public museums, galleries, some open areas like London in Trafalgar Square.
Have you ever been turned away with a Platypod?
Never. So here's the thing. They look at you and they see the camera and they see the Platypod and then they think about it for a minute and they think, that's not a tripod. Do I deal with this? I don't know. And then by the time that thought process has gone through, you're done and you're out. You've got your picture, and they've not done a single thing about it because it's not a tripod. So you're not breaking the rules, but you're achieving what you need to as a photographer.
But Dave, you're a strong guy. Can't you just handhold? I mean, why do you need a tripod when you're out in the field?
I can just hold it rock steady like that. No, well, that's the thing. Because there's certain images that climbing a mountain. This is the exact setup that I used in Norway. Climbing a mountain. I needed behind-the-scenes photos of me, which you've actually got on your screen there. I needed photos of the mountain. I needed a lot of stuff. But basically, the incline on that mountain was something ridiculous. It was like that. And so I didn't want to carry a big, heavy tripod. I wanted to just take minimal kit and see what I could achieve. Sometimes a few seconds, sometimes even fractions of a second, though. You have to be stable for fractions of a second if you're beyond, 1/20th. And it solves all those problems. I use a Platypod all the time. And so you've talked about the Ultra.
And now we have
the Extreme, the newest iteration, which came from the latest Kickstarter. Now we've got one. Came from our latest Kickstarter. And what it's done is it's replaced the older version of the Max. But please tell me how and why.
Okay, well, Max was a great unit, but we had a few complaints, and one was the weight. It was approximately 13 ounces. We were able to cut down a third of that weight, so it's now 9.6 ounces. You'll have to make the conversion to metrics. But the biggest thing that we wanted to improve on was the spike system. I went out in the field and it took me about 1.5 to 2 minutes to place all the spikes in place because I had to go on a rock surface. It was a little bit uneven and I wanted a very rock steady shot. So what we decided to do was to put in hinges, same spikes, but a hinge system. So now all you have to do is pull, twist, lock, turn around, pull, twist, lock. And I can do this in a matter of about 3 seconds. And if you'll notice, it comes out in a trapezoidal shape, which is intrinsically very, very stable. So once you set this down, it's rock steady. It's not going to shift around. You can adjust it if the surface is very uneven. So you can put these up or down. You can even lock them further into place by using these round nuts. But again, when you're in the trapezoid configuration, you don't have to. If you want to put them vertical with our rubber feet down, all you do is pull, twist, and again, come around like this. We have several positions, fixed positions here, so that you can achieve that. By the way, don't be afraid of the very sharp spikes. We do supply some little rubber tips, protective tips, so you don't want to scratch your fingers when you do that. But there's something else interesting about this. First of all the tips park themselves into a little tiny notch on the side here, so this is smooth. You won't snag your clothing on the bottom of it. But let's say you want to hang this off of a chair or a door. You can put it in this position right here. Oh, face back. And Dave, I think you did this to place it onto a 45-degree rock ice wall. But now you can just hang this on the back of the chair. There's a photo of it right on there. Because the spikes are so sharp, this will even grip on ice at a sharp angle.
Yeah.
But you can hang this.
I hung it on a bridge fence post in Switzerland recently.
Right.
Reinforced it with the strap.
Right.
And it was great for long exposures.
So a lot of great features here. You'll notice that there are all these little slots here so that if you want to strap it onto a pole, a tree, a railing, you can do that as well. Handle to carry it with.
Let me tell you,
Carabiner holes to carry it on a carabiner.
my favorite thing, as well as the speed, my favorite thing about having the spikes attached is I can't lose them. They're never going anywhere. They're not in a pouch. I don't have to stow them away. They're literally attached the whole time. Which means you don't have to send me any more spares.
Oh, that's nice. Very, very nice.
So let's move on though, because that's not it.
Did you want to talk about Platypod?
I'd love to. So I can see some on that table just there. We can steal them from shit.
So may I ask what a Platypod? Okay.
So this is basically the full head reimagined. That's Hilmar Smith Red.
It's Hilmar Smith Red.
So this is the bull head reimagined. And I remember the consultancy and the discussions that we had about this, but I'd love you to explain, because I know what my favorite things are, but I'd love you to explain.
Well, there's a few main features. Number one, most ball heads, almost all ball heads, have the panning stage at the bottom, and that presents a certain problem. If your panning is at the bottom and your legs are not even, I'll exaggerate this. If the panning is at the bottom, even though you level the top, once you begin panning, you're going to pan off level, and your lens is not going to be able to pan straight across. We've reversed that by putting the panning at the top. So now, even though the base is grossly off level, when I loosen this, you pan nice and straight all the way across. So that's problem number one solved. Problem number two is a lot of these tripods have similar knobs in 3 directions coming out, poking into your equipment, and difficult to decide which knob does which function. Not so with Platypod. With this, you simply wrap your hand around it. It's going to be your left hand because your right hand is for the shutter. And to loosen it, you simply pump the bottom and it loosens. It's a mechanical mechanism here. It's not electronic. And then to tighten it, you tighten with the top one. For the panning head, there's this wheel here. You just pull it back and that panning head is nice and loose. You push it forward and it locks very, very solid. Want to shoot at a 90-degree angle? You can do 90 degrees to the right. You can do 90 degrees to the left because we have notches on both sides. The clamp on top is fully ARCA compatible. Dave, if you'll hold the bottom over here, just if I can. Okay. And as you can see, you just simply twist. You hear a ratcheting sound. Camera's on, nice and tight. Make sure it's secure. And that's it. You're on. And to remove the camera, you simply twist. And you come out like this. Now, we do supply, if you don't have an Arca plate, we do supply the world's first, we try to innovate everything, the world's first round Arca plate. So instead of using coins, D-rays, screwdrivers, Allen wrenches to put this plate on your equipment, all you have to simply do is put it on, spin it, it's locked, and you're ready to mount that right onto there as well. So now, one feature you will not find anywhere else, as this is patented, is the world's first electronic leveling indicator. So we simply flick up this button, lights go on, and it goes into leveling mode. And let's make that medium brightness here, which is what I usually recommend. We have 3 levels of brightness, high, medium, low, and I'm doing this in midair, so
It's always tricky doing that. Down a bit.
okay, you get 4 arrows on there, and you're perfectly level to within a half a degree. If you want to hear more about this, you go to our website, platypod.com, and you'll get plenty of information about all of our products. We also have all kinds of attachments that can go on. We have goosenecks that actually stack to longer lengths. We have elbows that will hold up to about 2.5 kilos. We've got spigot adapters, which will take lighting equipment, lamps that can hold reflector cards, mirrors, utensils, your objects, branches, trees.
So speaking of all this stuff, one of your biggest markers you found is macro photography.
Yes.
And you have a setup right here.
Yeah.
Do you want to just quickly talk us through what's happening?
Sure. So for macro photography, it's easiest to do your macro photography with continuous lights, such as LED lights like these, versus doing it with flash, which you have to do a lot of calculations to get flash right. So using our goosenecks, you can position your lights exactly where you want to, your key light and your fill lights. You can put on, we have in here a reflector mirror that can be used. We have here a ring, which is the subject for the macro photography. And in the screen here, you can actually see an image of that ring up close. An elbow back here for those of you who are doing video or want an extra monitor on there. You can mount on a monitor to the side. You can also mount on smartphones onto this. So basically, think of our equipment as your tripod alternatives.
Fabulous. And the other big thing, as I said, about the uses for me, long exposure and stability when I don't want to carry everything around. The Ultra fits easily into your pocket, but I've also found the Extreme fits nicely into my back pocket. Right. So if I were to sling my camera with the platyable disc on the bottom,
Right.
have the tripod in my pocket, perhaps stash another small ball head somewhere,
Okay.
I've got the entire setup.
Correct.
Or I could use the carabiner to sling this rig here and the camera hanging there. I've still got everything I need for a long exposure, and it's lightweight. It can come with me. It achieves everything I want it to achieve. The tripod police, the macro photography rig, there are so many uses. And what I find very interesting in particular is going onto the Platypod blog or the Platypod Instagram page and seeing what people are doing, because I keep seeing new ideas and the things people are using a platypod and the platybull for just blows my mind, because I never even thought that was a consideration. I'm sure that's the same for you when you were designing it.
You've written a book called The Eiffel Tower Effect,
Yeah.
which I've read. And one thing to talk about, how many pieces of equipment do you buy? How many pieces of kit do you have that really change the way you look at the world and change the way that you shoot? When you're shooting with a platypod, all of a sudden you're looking, where on the ground can I put this? Get a different kind of image there.
Yeah.
Where can I strap it onto?
Yeah.
What can I strap it onto?
Yeah.
And suddenly you're avoiding the Eiffel Tower effect, where everyone's images look the same, shot from the same eye height, and you're doing things differently, and your pictures are...
Exactly. So I call that level at eye level. If you're holding a camera level at eye level, you're doing the same as everyone else. So you want to break that, and that gets you nice and low. In fact, I find in cathedrals, churches, museums, nice old Art Deco buildings, where you've got a beautiful wall, and a beautiful roof and a really boring floor, the Platypod's perfect because that shift in perspective brings more of the roof into view and squashes that floor down, so it's not,
Right.
you know it's a floor, but it's not taking up that much room in the image. So that's a perfect use. Yeah, so breaking away from level at eye level, as well as getting high, like you've got them mounted on the stand around here. People use them almost like a game trail camera. Like this one here, where it's high up on a tree to catch the action. The person can shoot remotely. It's out of the way, but you're getting a unique shot of the action that's happening. Again, looking at the Platypod blog and your social media to see these ideas that people are having just blows my mind because I'd never even think about it.
Oh, speaking of remotes, I mean, we've had to taken on some new ambassadors, photographers who do horse racing photography and steeplechase photography. And what they will do is they'll take this rig, and because of the spikes, they can spike it into the ground so it doesn't shift. They put a pocket wizard trigger on it, and you're actually getting images. You put this near a fence of the horse jumping over the fence. You're looking from underneath the horse. I don't recommend any photographer stand in that position.
And lie down there.
It could be rather dangerous and rather dirty also. So there's all kinds of things, all kinds of applications. We keep finding new things as people are trying this out.
Fantastic. Well, there we go then. The Platypod Elite, the Platypod Extreme, available at platypod.com or via Dell Photographic if you're in the UK. Larry, thank you very much.
Dave, always a pleasure.
Thank you
so much. And thank you, Chris.
I'm here with Glyn Dewis. Glyn, it's amazing to see you here at the photography show.
Thank you very much.
Cool. What have you been up to since we spoke last?
Do you know what, today, in fact yesterday and today, because obviously this is Saturday and Sunday, I've just been spending a lot of time catching with people that we've not been able to over the last few years, because even though this was on last year, it was a much quieter event, but now it's great to see more people back. So I've been doing the sort of like the interaction, the networking side of things, because that's a very big part of what we do. Do you know what I mean? We know we can't do this on our own. We need some people there to help us out, so that's what I've been doing.
It's interesting because no matter who I've been speaking to today, everybody's been saying the same thing. Is really it's just that human factor of getting to meet like-minded people here at the show, and making new contacts, and getting to know meeting old friends and getting to know new people.
It's massively important. I've made friends in this industry that I obviously would never have met had I not been involved in it. And then when I first started, and they're still friends today. Yeah. But that is a huge part of it. You've only got to look back. We've all experienced it. The last, say, 3 years when we weren't able to interact with people, we weren't able to go and do, like me, portrait shoots, and that social interaction was just not there. It was not good. It was not good for people. And the minute we could, everyone's out that starter gate. It's like, oh, I can get back. And everyone was saying, like, last year, this is so good to be able to catch up again, It's
Was it weird last year where we sort of met online? Yeah. As weird as that sounds. We met online.
Yeah. Wing life stalking.
Yeah, exactly. And then we actually met in person for the first time here at the photography.
We felt like we'd kind of known. That's the great thing about the social media, like you do in the podcast and stuff like that. You see somebody online, you interact online, and when you meet, those initial kind of burst feelings when you first meet someone, they're not there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just like, hello, mate. Yeah. And you have something to talk about rather than, so who are you? What do you do? You know all that.
Yeah.
So those barriers are gone, and those friendships are different. Do you know what I mean?
So what else have you been up to then since we spoke last year?
I've done blimey, what I've been doing, things have really changed for me, and I sound kind of, I don't know if this sounds right to say this, but in a way, the last 3 years has actually done me a favour, because I think we might have spoken about this on the podcast. Yeah. I think I was very stuck in my ways of being a portrait photographer. But the last 3 years, certainly the last year, has just totally made me branch out, and I am thoroughly enjoying what I'm doing. I'm doing way more video. I'm doing way more stuff with the drone and video work and stuff. So there's still the photography, but I'm not pigeonholing myself now. I'm doing what I thoroughly enjoy, and I'm enjoying it probably more now than when I first started.
And I think you can really tell, because I've been following your channel ever since, I don't know, the last year and a half or something. Yeah. And I think it's really obvious how this sort of, the production value of your videos has improved and grown, and, it's amazing. How much time do you spend on a video typically?
It all depends. I mean, the optimum time I've realised for a video on YouTube, you're talking about 8 to 10 minutes. And I'll script it all out. And I can, on occasions, I can record and edit in a whole day. But if it ends up with me having to be out on location, I'll do the location stuff one day, then I'll edit the next day. And it's not a task. I thoroughly I'm enjoying it. I mean, I think I might have said to somebody, either you or somebody earlier on, I'm in the right headspace for it. YouTube is not an effort. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy kind of pushing that. I'm learning more things, like I wouldn't have done before. Learning After Effects, how to use Adobe Audition for the sound quality, and Premiere Pro, and not just Photoshop and Lightroom, and how those all things work together. It's just great fun. I'm genuinely, this isn't me with having half a dozen coffees today. This is me genuinely enjoying doing what I'm doing.
I think audio is the thing that as photographers, I think a lot of photographers are scared of the audio side because it's not something that we're used to. We're used to the visual and, and the imagery. And so we could probably get our head around the video side of it. But the audio is the thing that scares people off the most.
Absolutely, yeah. And there is that saying, isn't it? They say, if you want better video, get better audio. Because we all know if we've seen something online where the quality of the video is just awful, but the sound's great, you will watch it. But if the sound is amazing, but it's like, oh my God, that footage is awful, you think, I can't watch this. It's a massive thing. But there are no excuses now anyway.
Exactly.
I'm going to say, don't you? Adobe Shasta.
Absolutely. 100%.
Unbelievable. And what that's doing and what that's going to be able to do in the future, amazing.
Interestingly, I saw your video talking about Adobe Shasta. And then as a test, I ran all the audio from last week's episode through Shasta without doing anything myself.
Right.
And I have to say, my mind was blown.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. There's a lot of people who are kind of pro and people who are against this AI, this artificial intelligence stuff. But when it kind of, the stuff that I'm seeing out there at the moment, I know there's this kind of like, is it DALL-E? And there's the one, name escapes me at the moment, where you can literally do keywords and it comes back as a picture.
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame. But when there's AI that is actually helping you to do your job, to take the pressure off doing something else so you can concentrate on the creative stuff, like Shasta, which is a strange name. Fantastic, I'm all for it.
Who came up with that name?
I have no idea. But there's three parts to it. You've got the voice enhancer, you've got the podcast side, and the mic check-in. But the way this is all going, it basically is freeing us up. It's not going to replace an audio engineer, but my God, it allows the average person to be able to say, I'm going to produce this. The sound is great, so people will watch more of it, and I can get on doing the creative stuff.
That's exactly it. It's such a great time saver. I mean, the amount of time I would normally spend, editing the audio on a typical episode, I've saved all of that time. And whilst, that's uploaded to Adobe and it's doing its magic, the AI magic in the background, I can do other things. I can color grade, I can get the, stuff ready.
Yeah, exactly. It leaves you can let, you do that. It's almost like having an assistant, isn't it? It's like I talk about the camera nowadays with the technology across all the brands, the focusing and stuff like that is incredible, that you can almost say, right, you look after that for me, I'll do the eye. So like I did a shoot of a surfer, unbelievably bright day. I had the camera in front of me, I'm waist high or chest high in the water. I couldn't see the back of the camera, but I purely left that to the camera. I'm trusting you to do this for me. I'm going to give it the composition I think it's going to give. And I came back out, looked at the shots, they were absolutely bang on. So this technology, it's there to be embraced because it does allow you to kind of do what you should be doing. Because, being a photographer isn't about the technicals.
Exactly.
It's about, if you're a portrait photographer, it's about the communication. Yeah. But generally, it's about I sound like really corny here, but it's about creating that art, isn't it?
It's ultimately about the end product. That's the thing. Wait, why would I, not use something that makes my job easier?
Yeah, I think some people feel threatened by it. I think that's the end of it. But there is nothing to be threatened by. Do you know what I mean? There really isn't. Embrace it, because if you don't embrace it, you are going to be left behind.
Exactly.
So
if you're a photographer and you've been thinking about getting into video, your life has just been made a whole lot easier. We're going to put a link to Adobe Shasta in the description, and I'm also going to link Glyn's video about that, which is extremely helpful and very useful. That's how I learned how to use it. So if I can do it, anybody can. Anyway, Glyn, thank you so much for talking to us.
Cool. Thank you very much for asking me, mate.
Awesome. And I hope I'll see you on the Camera Shake podcast for another full episode soon.
I'll hold you to that.
And I've just found Hannah Couzens. Hannah, how are you?
I'm really good, thanks, Cousins. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I nearly missed you.
Oh, I'm easily forgettable. No, I know it's been a bit manic. It's been sort of like a really busy show, and there's been lots of people that I wanted to see that your times clash with, and just sort of seeing them on as we're kind of going out. So it's always the way with these things. There's so much you want to see and not enough time.
You've just held a talk.
Yeah, I did. I did a 6-light setup on the photo live stage. I mean, why did I do 6 lights? Who does that? But I mean, it was. I had many technical problems tethering, but it happens. It's quite common. I found in when you're at expos like this, there's so many different frequencies, so many different Wi-Fi going on that, it happens quite a lot of the time. Yeah.
Oh, so what else have you been looking forward to at the photography show this year?
Well, it's been really interesting for me to be back because I haven't been here since 2019. I didn't come last year because I was literally about to give birth. So it's been, it's been nice to be back and sort of see what it's like. And I've also just really missed seeing all the team and, my friends, everyone's talking. It's been a long time that we haven't all been together in the same room. So it's lovely to catch up with them.
It's really funny because no matter who I talk to, everybody says exactly the same thing. It's really all about making connections, meeting people. That's one of the main benefits of the photography show.
It's so true. It's lovely, and sometimes I've found as well, so a couple of people that have come up to me that said that they've been following me on social media. It's nice to actually physically meet them as well. It's lovely because otherwise you just sort of talk sort of digitally, but it's nice to put a face to a name and just kind of catch up with all your friends, make new connections like you say. It's great. It's a nice social event, and I think maybe we have missed that more than we realised.
How's the last year been for you as a new mom?
It's been chaos, Kirsten. It's been amazing. It's been amazing. I mean, my little boy has been going, back and forth up the aisles. I think most people are looking at me going, why on earth is there a child here? But I'm like, well, I'm speaking, so he has to come. But no, it's been amazing. Thank you. It's been a hard juggle sometimes because, of course, I went back to work after 7 weeks because we're self-employed and that's what we have to do. But, of course, you can manage your own time. So it's been a case of, booking clients, doing them all the shoots back to back, coming home, doing the editing so I can take over. So yeah, it's been hard work. I'm tired. It's been great.
It's always a way though, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, it's a juggling act for all of us, but in some respects it's good because you're able to fit things in around, kind of day to day. We're all right. We can juggle it because my partner's self-employed too. So between us, 2 companies that we run, we can manage our time. However, you don't have that security of every single month you get a paycheck or maternity pay or whatever it is. So swings and roundabouts.
Yeah. Interesting enough, I saw Tommy Reynolds earlier, who's got exactly the same, well, it's not a problem, but,
same issue, same situation. And I was just chatting with Tommy for about an hour. We were just comparing notes on just how much of a struggle it is and what guilt you feel and all that kind of stuff. So it's tough, but I mean, life happens and so you have to kind of make it fit, don't you? So we do have it.
Absolutely. Are you here for the next few days as well, or?
I'm not actually, no. I mean, I was supposed to be speaking tomorrow over at Sony, but of course that's not happening now. So for me to keep the baby up here for another day, only to be here Tuesday when I'm not doing anything myself, it is a shame. I would like to be here because there's a lot of stuff I want to see, but life's changed now, so I have to make decisions and put him first, of course, to see what's best for him. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's a short show for me. I arrived yesterday, but I've still seen a lot of people and seen a lot of kit and stuff and seen what I need to see, so it's been nice.
Excellent. So as we're talking, it is Sunday today, and of course tomorrow, Monday, is the Queen's funeral, and the show will be closed. So everything has been moved either forward or backwards. I think a lot of talks will be moved to Tuesday as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, from my point of view, I think Sony kind of scheduled us so tightly that it was very difficult to try and move us around into other days. So, we've just sort of said, look, they initially, I think they were trying to reprogram everything. And I think some of us just sort of said, look, don't make extra work for yourselves. And then we also don't want to rush the other speakers that were already talking because we don't want them to start, to have to finish early to fit someone else in. So, yeah, I mean, it's 1 year where we won't be, I think there's 4 or 5 of us that we're supposed to be on, but we won't be. But we've been doing other things, so we've been here in a different capacity.
Fantastic. What's your plan for the next year?
Oh, for the next year, goodness me. I mean, I don't even know, honestly, Kirsten. I'm so thrown off because it's September. I'm so used to this show being in March time. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, it's September. I don't know what happened to the year. It's disappeared. It's all gone so fast. But yeah, I mean, over the next year, I'm just really keeping everything going how it was. I mean, it's been a mad year for us. They're one of the busiest years we've had. I don't know whether COVID, everyone was trying to get back on their feet and now everyone's kind of over it. We've just been manic. We've been so busy, which is a wonderful thing.
Which is great.
Of course. So, just to carry on as we are. And then perhaps there's other areas of my business that I thought perhaps if I get time, that I might want to kind of get back into a little bit more, like revamp the maternity sessions and things like that. Because now I've been on the other side of it, I think perhaps maybe it might make me a little bit more sympathetic because I understand it.
Good point.
Maybe it might improve my work in those areas, or like I've always enjoyed it, but I kind of left it on the shelf for a bit. I don't know. I don't really know why. So perhaps I might look to explore those a little bit more. It'd be fun.
Fantastic, Hannah. Thank you so much for talking to us, and hopefully we'll have you back on the podcast at some point over the next few months. That would be fantastic. All right.
Thank you so much, man.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we're back here at the Luminar stand with none other than Mr. Vanelli himself. How are you doing, man?
Hey, real good. Thanks for stopping by.
Awesome. We were here yesterday. We had a bit of a chat, and I know there are some updates on Luminar. What's new? What's the latest thing?
So what's really cool about what we're doing in Luminar now is we're making Luminar the base program. So that's the foundation, that's the base. And because of the way the engineers designed it, now what they can do is add extensions to it. So we have the noiseless extension that just came out, HDR, and there's a few others that are coming out real soon. So now just think of Neo as your base or your host. So that's always going to be updated no matter what. So even if you're a Neo user now or an owner now, that's always going to be updated for the rest of the time where you own it. And to make it faster and quicker, then they add on any of the extensions. So if you're into HDR, you can either purchase the HDR extension, brings it in, or if you do subscription-based, and I hate that word subscription. It's more like maintenance. You know what I mean? But if you were to buy that subscription, then whatever extensions are out, you get to have. So that works out great.
Fantastic. And is this really something for everybody, no matter whether you're a portrait photographer or a landscape photographer? I mean, I had a look at some of the plugins earlier, and it's amazing, how you can focus on eyes, on skin, and it makes your life so much easier. I know how much time I spend retouching.
Well, as a portrait photographer, right? You and I both know trying to, remember the blemish removal, remember the blemishes on a person's face. And I'm not going to lie, and I'm sure you did this too. In the middle of the night, you're bored as heck. You have to retouch, 100 images. You're like, bip, bip. You start making noises, bip, bip. And you're going through the whole thing. And after a while, you're like, all right, yeah, it's not cool anymore. Dima, the founder of Skylum, he's the creator of Luminar. He came out with skin retouching and AI skin. So at first, it was like, well, wait a second, where's the little brush? Vanelli, stop. It's a new way of thinking. The old way that people are editing, it's outdated. Why should you sit there and actually select repeatedly the blemishes, and then on the next scene, if the person moves their head, you have to start all over again. Here, one click, they call it defects removal. I say blemish. Click on it, it's done. Smooth the skin, but the best part of all of this, no masking involved. And then you can save it as your own, apply it to your batch of images. So as a portrait photographer, especially the eyes, enhancing the eyes, there's no longer, here's a brush, let's select the eyes and fix it. One slider, eyes change. A lot of times, you have killer blue eyes, all right? Now, especially in this light, but with the way the light's hitting his eyes, they may not be as blue as they should be. You could change the colors of an eye, and a lot of times I'll keep the same color of the eye the person has and just dial it back just a little bit, and it adds light to the eyes. And since it's that person, when I batch process it, the eyes look identical all the way through.
See, that batch processing capability is the thing that will, save professionals so much time. And as we all know, time is money. So if I think, when I do a corporate headshot session, let's say it's a volume shoot, and I've got to retouch 20, 40, 60, 100 shots, to be able to batch process the skin and the eyes that's money in my pocket, because it's time that I save. It's incredible.
And well, we're going to let them in on little secrets. A lot of times, you dictate how many photos you take based on, do I really want to edit this entire set? So I'm not going to overshoot. I'm going to, just, now it doesn't matter what you do. Or here's a better example. As photographers, we don't like showing people our unfinished work. But yet the client constantly says, well, I just want to see what they look like. Well, they're not edited yet. No, it's okay. I just want to see it. You show them, and then all of a sudden they're, oh my God, this looks horrible. Yet told me not to show you unedited. With this concept, you would go in and just do a real quick edit to all of the images, the good, the bad, the ugly. Send them up. Sorry, you pick. Which ones do you want? Oh, I want this, this, and this. Great. How do they look to you right now? Oh, they already looked edited. Exactly. So you don't have to go back and do it unless quality control. And then you go back and do a quality control check. But I think that's going to help a lot of new portrait photographers because they're not going to get frustrated and just say, you know what, I like it. I don't want to do this though because editing part is what's slowing me down.
And that's the thing because, being a photographer and being, a retoucher are, really two separate skill sets. And you won't necessarily want to dive that deep into Photoshop or whatever else. And so these tools are really a godsend, not only for the professionals where time is money, but also for enthusiasts, for example.
Exactly. Now keep in mind, especially the relight tool that we have, you saw the face relighting to where you could just select the face, or if it selects the face for you. And if as a photographer, I didn't like the face enough as I could, here's a way to just touch it up just a bit. But the point I'm getting at is you could be a photographer, a retoucher, or a graphic artist. You could be all three. But whatever you are in that particular moment, be that person. So if you're a photographer, don't ever get to the point where you say, well, I'll just fix that in post. No, fix it in Canon. And I love the fact that Skylum is allowing me to be a photographer first and then teach photo editing. And people think that's backwards. Well, then why do I need you? Well, because you're going to need to edit your images. I'm hoping to show you how to edit very lightly, and you don't need to spend hours, unless they want to. Some people love doing that stuff. I don't. I like getting in, edit, get the heck out of there, I'm done. But as portrait photographers, like you said, time is, money.
Absolutely.
Right? Or, if I'm spending so much time on this editing, I can't go out and photograph other things I want to do. So that's, and again, it's, keep in mind, yes, because I work for Skylum, I am prejudiced towards Luminar because not only do I use it every day, but I get to have input with the engineers. That to me is the greatest compliment the company could ever give me, is asking for my input. Here's what's even better. You guys, everyone, gets to do the same thing because I'm the conduit. When we do Luminar Coffee Break on Monday through Friday at 1 o'clock, we do an Ask Me Anything segment to where the viewers in a Zoom, meetings, not webinars, they see us face-to-face, we talk to each other, and if they have suggestions, I'll write it down. So, that's a great idea.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so if they go to skylum.com, and you'll look up and see Luminar Coffee Break or vanelliandfriends.com. But the whole thing is, I love the fact that Skylum listens to the users, and they say, okay, this is what you want. Let's see what we can do to accomplish these goals.
So here's the part where I'm going to ask, what can we expect from Luminar in the future?
That's a real good question. Our team constantly amazes me, and I'll be the first to admit, I feel guilty. I'm in the States. My team is in a war zone. So here you are talking to them, on Zoom, we got to go quick, and all of a sudden you hear eerie sirens, and you just see the horror on their faces, and you're like, oh man, you just feel for them. But then all of a sudden they knock out all these updates, and you're like, how in the heck are you able to accomplish this? And what goes on in my head is, can you imagine what the engineers have developed during a wartime, and back in 2015, during the threat of it? Oh my God, when all that stuff is over, imagine what they're going to create in the future. So we do have a roadmap on the site. So if you look up at skylum.com, look under the roadmap, you can see what they're able to tell us that they're willing to do. But be the first to admit, they learned from their mistake when Neo first came out. People would say, the engineers, we could do this in the winter. Great. Well, to them, winter is in February. To us Americans, winter is in December. So there's miscommunication, and we did take a hit with people upset that we didn't deliver on time. Then the war kicked in, and the team got everything together. Now, the extensions, they mapped it, but they're not going to tell you exactly when it's coming out until they know for 100% certainty, hey, guess what? It's coming out here. And typically it happens 1 or 2 days in that time frame. So
Fantastic. I mean, I've been following Luminar for quite some time, and I'm really amazed with the kind of stuff that you guys have been able to come out, even under those difficult circumstances. So, Vanelli, thank you very much for talking to us. I'm sure we'll see more of you on the Camera Shake podcast in the near future. And thank you for your honesty, and have a great time at the show.
thanks for watching, everyone.
Awesome. I'm here with Peter Treadway, our wedding shooter, the co-organizer of the photography show, I guess.
Stage manager. Making sure all the speakers have got what they need. Yeah.
Cool. Pete, what is the one thing that gets you out of bed and come here to the photography show?
For me, so I've been working at the show now probably for the last 3 or 4 years, prior to COVID as well. And whether I'm working here or when I was here as an attendee, the big thing for me is the social element. It's great to come and, play with the new gear and, have it play around with it, the very expensive gear that you'll probably never be able to afford. But for me, I think as photographers, it can be quite an insular industry, quite a solitary job. Because as a wedding photographer, at any job I'm at, although I'm surrounded by potentially hundreds of people, you're working generally on your own. And so you'll go from job to job to job, and not just wedding photography, portrait photography, any kind of event photography, anything like that. You're surrounded by people, but you're on your own. And so it's great for events like this where you get to catch up with friends and people you haven't spoken to in the industry for the last year. So yeah, my big takeaway from shows like this is just the social element, coming to see people and just being able to interact and just chew the fat over, the crazy jobs that you've just been dealing with over the last year.
We've just realized yesterday that it was literally a year since we've seen each other. And that seems crazy.
Yep. And this is the thing. It's you keep in touch online, and there's a multitude of of ways to keep in touch with people now. But there's nothing that compares to kind of that physical connection with people and being able to sit down and look people in the eye and have a chat. So yeah, for that, this show is great.
And even making new connections as well. This is a great opportunity to get to know new people.
Absolutely. So what I love about that is you never know who knows who in this industry. And so you come to an event like this and you start chatting to a friend and, oh, have you met? Oh, I briefly bumped into him. And yeah, you make those connections. And then before you know it, oh, well, I need someone to do this. Oh, well, that guy does that or that girl does that. And so, we'll put you together. And yeah, so making connections, seeing people, social side, absolutely perfect.
And of course, the other thing, aside from all the, gear, is the educational side that's happening on loads of stages this year.
Yeah, so with the show has, like this one, the editing and post-processing suite, they have their own stages, which are all fantastic. But then some of the stands as well, some of the brands have their own people coming on and giving talks. So the show it's fantastic for education. Every niche is catered for. Whatever you want to learn about, be it weddings, be it events, be it portraiture, be it child, maternity photography, it's here. And if you go around, you will find somewhere, probably multiple places, giving talks on exactly what you need to know.
What's happening on your stage today?
So again, this is the editing and post-processing. So we get a lot of live demonstrations of Lightroom and Photoshop and things like that, and how to use the program quickly, efficiently, how to make workflows more efficient. We had a lady this morning that was doing a Photoshop demonstration. She was a natural skin retoucher. So nowadays, it's all fantastically so. It's all about be your true self. And so where you see high-end fashion photography, where people are airbrushed within an inch of their lives, she takes women and men who have skin conditions that don't necessarily look like the norm when it comes to beauty and fashion, as she does those sorts of edits, and it was fantastic. So yeah, there's loads to be seen here, all to do with editing, post-processing. It's fantastic.
Fantastic, Pete. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of you in the next month or so.
I hope so.
Awesome.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Have fun on your bike rides.
Yes. Yeah. Heading down to Stratford, 50-mile bike ride. Hopefully I'll make it back, because I've got the show to be out on Tuesday. But yeah. Fingers crossed I'll make it back. But yeah, no, good to see you, buddy.
All right. Thanks. See you later. So I'm here with Sian Elizabeth. Sian, I've just watched your talk and it was incredible.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming and being in the audience. So I was quite nervous to get up there, but I think it went pretty well. So happy with that.
This is your first time speaking at the photography show?
It is my first time at the photography show. I've done some online learning sort of platforms before, but this is my first in-person experience. So yeah.
Were you nervous?
I was, yeah, but good to see friendly faces there. So ease those nerves a bit more.
It really was an amazing talk. I really didn't know what to expect at all. Can you just give us sort of a brief synopsis of what you were talking about?
So my talk today was on living with chronic illness as a photographer. And I know there's quite a few people who have suffered like long COVID or have chronic pain. I personally have ME and endometriosis, and I kind of wanted to raise a bit of awareness around that. But how I've also adapted and changed things in my life to be able to still do photography.
It was really amazing to see how you've totally adapted to your condition. And I also love the fact that you're shooting from home, which is exactly what I do.
Yep. It saves so much money as well, and it's like the comfort of your own home, your safe space, and yeah, it's brilliant.
Awesome. Is this your first time at the photography show in general?
No, I've been here quite a few times over the years. I can't remember what it used to be called, but I was there for that one. So it must have been at least, maybe 10 years ago or something, I don't know. But no, I missed last year's, unfortunately, and of course then before with the pandemic. But no, I love the photography show and meeting up with everyone from all over the world. So yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, what's the thing that you look forward to the most when you come to the photography show?
Definitely meeting up with friends. Sometimes it's the only chance we get to actually have a huge meet up with all of us photographers. So the social aspect is brilliant for me. And also seeing incredible work here and buying new gadgets, which you probably shouldn't be, spending lots of money. So yeah, it's all good fun.
What have you bought?
Well, I haven't bought it yet, but I need a new tripod because I kind of broke my last one. And what else do I need? There is something else I've forgotten, but the tripod's the main one at the moment, so that's on my list, yeah.
I rocked up with a sling bag yesterday, carrying all my gear around with me, and by the end of the day, my shoulders were killing me. So I went straight into investing into a new backpack.
Well, brilliant. Actually, yes, a new backpack. I need a new backpack, so I've got my zips on the other one are broken, so tripod, backpack, yeah, there you go.
It's a bit dangerous when you come to the photography show and you've got all of these exhibitors here, when literally anything you can think of is on show and for sale.
Yes, it's a problem. I mean, you have credit card. You're like, well, should I? Okay, but yeah, it's once a year, and just why not treat yourself.
So, what have you got plans in the future?
In the future, so I actually have from my talk, I introduced some images that I did of some cold water swimmers, and since doing that personal project, I've been asked to do an exhibition of that work and potentially do a book on it as well. So that's kind of the next stages for me, and keep shooting basically as much as I can.
And, of course, coming on the Camera Sec podcast, clearly.
And that. Oh, actually, we're going to do a shootout with creepy heads.
Ooh, yes. Creepy head shootout. You heard it here first, but it will be coming. Sean, thank you very much for talking to us, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the show in a little while for a full episode.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you. So I'm here with Tony Harmer at the editing suite. Tony, what's your experience of the photography show been for you this year?
Well, as always with the photography show, it's been fantastic. I love doing this show. I really look forward to it. There's some great stuff out there. Of course, I've spent an enormous amount of money that my wife totally approves of. I know, yeah, see? And she doesn't watch this, so that's fine. But yeah, no, it's all I do. I really love this show. It's one of the things I look forward to most in the whole year. I've been doing it since 2014. I love it.
So what's if you had to break it down to the one single thing that thrills you most about the show this year, what would that be?
Oh, now that's really, really tough. I do like seeing some of the sneaks, but it's meeting people. Like I met Larry from Platypod this morning, the inventor of the Platypod. That was fantastic. I saw Dave Williams hanging around. He's an amazing bloke, of course. It really, for me, it's about just seeing what's going on out here, meeting new people. I like teaching people stuff. Those are the highlights for me. That's what I like about it most.
I think that's one of the things we're trying to bring across this year. Really, is that really is a social event. Of course, it's great to get your hands on the latest, and greatest kit, camera bodies, lenses, whatever it may be. But it's actually meeting people that can really change everything for you.
Absolutely, yeah. And as someone who educates people for a living, right, that's one of the best things. I mean, I get to actually change the way people work for the better, which is fantastic. Meet people, make new friends all the time. I love it. Absolutely love it.
So you've done a few speaking engagements at the show. What was it that you did?
So I've been doing stuff around Premiere and Photoshop. So I did making your first video in Premiere yesterday. I'm doing that again today. I did motion graphics templates yesterday morning, so in Premiere and After Effects, which were a lot of fun. And today I'm doing Photoshop social video, making social video in Photoshop. So
Excellent. Tony, thank you so much for coming to the show. Hopefully we'll see you for a full episode on the show later on this year.
that would be really lovely. Thanks, Kirsten. It's fantastic. Cheers. Take care.
Thanks. See you back. So I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Dave Clayton. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Fantastic. It feels like I've only just seen you.
I know, it's almost like we only spoke a couple of days ago.
Exactly. Well, that's called continuity.
Yes, true.
So, Dave, how's the show been for you?
It's been so energetic this year. Thinking back to last year when, you know, it was still those early days of, can we be in person again? Can we go to an event and touch stuff and hug people? And this year, it just feels like it's all been forgotten. And it's lovely because the traffic, the amount of people walking past, you know, when I do get a chance to go for a walk and I walk past all the booths, there's people everywhere. And they're picking stuff up and touching and testing and trying, which is what the show's all about. So it's good to see that health come back and confidence of people to attend a show. And I think something like this, because it is one of the world's biggest hobbies, I think is fishing a lot. Fishing is the world's biggest hobby or something.
Is it?
Yeah, but photography, I mean, is like huge. And a show like this gives people a thirst for getting something that gives them enjoyment and happiness, and they can come here and be with fellow photographers.
And I think what most people don't realize, not only are there lots of manufacturers here and you can look at lots of gear, but there's also a lot of really cool second-hand gear to be had.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you go and see the disabled photographers, I love those guys, and I donated a bunch of books to them this year because they do such good work and repurpose old gear. And probably you're the same. You love buying old cameras, even if you're not going to buy them. And
Absolutely.
I still do. But yeah, it's that whole thing of upgrading. I think we spoke about it on the podcast about only spend money when you need it, not just because you want to spend it. And there's, what's that thing about? Is it like the best camera from 5 years ago is now the worst camera today? So depending on what you shoot and how you shoot, you can come here and test and get secondhand gear. And, it's beyond me because I'm not a photographer, but I kind of see why people buy what they do.
I mean, the thing is, I until very recently used to shoot a Nikon D750, which is a camera that came out 8 years ago, 9 years ago, something like that. And, I've had comments, saying, well, why don't you upgrade? Like, why are you're shooting a really old camera? But the reality is, that camera delivers images that were unthinkable, 10 years ago.
Oh, exactly. I bought my D300S when the 750 came out. And the only reason I bought the D300S secondhand was because HDR was all the rage. And I just fancied having a go at it because it looked quite graphical as a designer. And it had bracketing. I think it had 9-stop bracketing. The 750 didn't. And I knew nothing about cameras. I still got that camera. I've not even got it out of the bag for the last 2-3 years. And I'm an awful camera operator. But it's, the gear helps. But like my 8-year-old camera, I could still get out tomorrow. I could still go and take some great images. I've got a couple of half-decent lenses. It's just the enjoyment of practicing and trying. And, not every photograph has to be a killer photo. And now that we're digital, so I was telling my friend on my phone, just one particular friend, I looked in my WhatsApp and we've shared like 5,500 photos between us on my phone. And the good thing one of the things I love about photography in my family was I don't even know where it comes from because nobody in my family is a photographer, but the amount of photographs, printed proper old school photographs that our family owns of our family going way, way back is just incredible. Although my mum decided one year, mum's got all the photos, and she decided one year to make a big frame, a collage of all the images. And instead of putting the images in the frame, she cut all of us out of the photographs
and threw away the bits she didn't need, made the collage, which is lovely. But when I saw it, I about squealed like a little schoolgirl and went, where's all the photos? Where's all that? And she went, oh, I've thrown all the bits away. And I was like, I'd have scanned them all because, you know, my kids, all the photographs I've got of them are all on hard drives, backup and everything. And I feel bad I haven't printed them out. And then when I come here and I see all the photo albums and the storage and that, and I just think, it's one of the sad things about modern day photography is the fact that we don't print as much as we should for our children. That they can open a book, a photo album, and go back and look at the pictures of them as kids at the beach on holidays and that. It's all storage.
It's, in a weird way, it's much harder to destroy a hard copy than it is to lose a digital file.
Yeah, my mum's got a photograph of her great-great-grandfather, you know, from a time where I guess anyone who owned a camera must have looked like a wizard. And she still has that photograph. It's lasted 100 years.
See, the funny thing about this is my daughter, when she was really little, like maybe 2 or something, she asked me whether, you know, back in the olden days, because, you know, like all the old images that you see were black and white. Yeah. But she basically said, like, Daddy, when was color invented? Well, the world was in color back then, but we didn't have the technology to actually turn into a photograph.
When the dinosaurs died, we stopped going from black and white into color.
Exactly.
My daughter actually had an argument with me the other day because we were talking about the color of a dinosaur. And she said, no, Daddy, that dinosaur is this color. I said, how do you know? Because they found the fossils. And I said, yeah, but the fossils don't have color. The skin goes away. She said, Daddy, trust me. I know the color of dinosaurs. And then she goes, you should remember because you went to school with them.
Oh, nice. I'm liking her already.
Yeah. So, and she wants to be a photographer. She's actually started talking about coming into photography. She's 13 now. I gave her my little point and shoot, and I would happily give her my D300S. So when children kind of get a thirst for something like that, I don't want to stop her. I want to encourage her. And if it's something she loves doing, what a great industry to be in. You know, we met through photography. Absolutely. We've all met through this. I meet so many cool people at this show every year that while I'm not a photographer, nearly a big proportion of my best friends are.
Yeah.
And I love what they do, what they produce.
And of course, photography can be a very solitary activity. And you know, some of the people I've spoken to at the show have mentioned that. And that's actually why shows like this are so important, because this is a great opportunity for everybody to come together.
Yeah. And everyone shoots differently. You know, you got walk around, you got portrait photographers, landscape, wildlife, architecture, dog photography, macro photography. I'm a big fan of street photography because for me, the most iconic images that I can remember throughout my life have all been a moment in history, a moment in time. And I'm more of a fan of street photography because it captures a moment that wasn't planned. I'm less a fan of studio photography and model photography because there's so much has to go into it to get what you want. I enjoy it less. Beautiful people, lovely images, but give me a picture of an old man on a bench laughing because his best mate made him laugh and he's like sat there with a cigarette, his face is all crinkled up. I'd have that photo on my wall before I'd have a model shoot kind of image, because it's just that for me, is if that 250th of a second or whatever it is, capture the moment. And the most iconic photos in history are like the sailor kissing the girl in Times Square,
or the worker sitting on the metal girder. Yeah.
And like now we consume so much through photography, billions and billions of images all the time, and yet people are still able to just every day come up with an image that makes you go, wow.
I wonder how many photos were taken, like during the duration of the photography show. I wonder how many photos were taken in this very building over that, course of 4 days.
Yeah, it does make me laugh, and I feel bad saying this, but it does make me laugh when I come here every year.
and I see the people turn up with like 3 rucksacks of all their gear that they've brought here from home. And I'm like, why? It's a lot to... You get that back.
Well, that's exactly how I felt yesterday. Because, intelligently, I brought a sling bag, like a messenger bag, to carry all my gear around. And, 2 hours in, I'm like, this isn't working. I need to get like an actual backpack with 2 straps, because it was pulling my shoulders. It was, pulling my spine out. It was just, it was not doable. So,
if you're bringing gear because you're creating content like you are, you got a mic, you got a camera, you're bringing gear because you want to capture photographs of some, because there's some thing I love about the photography show is there are areas where you can bring a camera and shoot some really cool stuff. They had a garden one year, street, wedding. So of course you're going to bring a camera to shoot, but like so much stuff.
Yeah.
I hate carrying a coat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm one of these people, I try and prepare for all eventualities. So, I'll pack like an ND filter just because, it could be sunny, I could be filming outside, but actually, I probably not. I don't need 4 batteries. So, by the time you've added all these things up, actually, you've added like, the weight again, to your back. And it's just, so today I'm traveling very light,
So let me ask you a question. What do you get from the photography show?
So for me, it's really predominantly the social aspects. And, I know a lot of people that I've spoken to today, I have mentioned that really. But it really is true. It's such, a great way to meet people, to meet old friends and big new ones, and that's really been the main thing for me. I've seen some interesting, displays. I've come across some interesting new products and everything else, but that's really not the reason I'm here personally.
Yeah.
The reason I'm here is because all my friends are here.
Yeah. I mean, I never spend money here. Maybe if I do, I go over to like CBL distribution because they're the book people and I love books. So I quite often maybe buy a book or 2, smuggle them home. Not like people buying lenses for £3,000 and smuggling them home. But this year I actually bought gear. I did buy photography gear, I bought audio gear, but I bought the DJI mics.
Great.
Which, there was a show deal. I thought, actually, if I buy them, I'll use them. And I don't,
Other brands exist.
Other brands exist. Yeah, Rode are very good as well. But Glyn bought a pair, and I trust Glyn's judgment. And then Lloyd, who's our AV guy, his job is AV. He went and bought a pair, and I'm thinking, right, if he believes in them, I can use them. I kind of want to do this like you're doing. When I travel to conferences, I want to get content and podcasts, and I don't have the gear, so I know this gear will work. And the photography show's there. It's live from the photography show.
Exactly.
So yeah, I tend not to buy gear, but I'm a sucker for tech, and that's one of the things I enjoy is when I do get a chance to walk around. To see some in colour.
But of course, if you're in the market, there are bargains to be had here because, most, I guess, probably all exhibitors do offer discounts on the show. So there are some good opportunities to be caught here.
I know, and I don't know if it's a myth on the Tuesday, whether it's always that, oh no, come on the Tuesday because they don't want to take the gear back. And I think it's a bit of a myth. I think they're quite happy to take the gear back rather than sell it for massive discounts. But try and ask, come along to the show and ask. The worst they can say is no. Yeah. You go about your business.
I got a super awesome discount on my backpack that I bought.
Did you?
Absolutely.
I got the Morally Toxic one from Three Legged Thing. Love it. And I have brought it with me. But I also have too many bags. So
one can never have too many bags.
I was saying, my friend gave me a bag. I said, I think my daughter's actually got a bag for one of her bags. She's into it. So yeah, so she has grabbed my stuff and I go, Daddy, what have you bought? What have you got me? But it's just nice to be around and indulge and explore.
Absolutely. So you've been working on the Photo Live stage, for the last few days. How's that been? How's the stage been and the performances?
It's been good. We've had a varied range of different kinds of photography. A lot of it is normally around light, obviously, because it's lighting setups. But when you get people like Gavin Hoey, who, absolute legend, you get them on stage, everyone goes away happy. One of my favourite sessions was Jane Lazenby. She was showing how to create your own textures using coffee stains, shoe polish, and just anything that makes colour. And she did a live thing on stage. She was painting on card, and then she photographed it and then put it into Photoshop and was using it as texture overlays for images and fantastic photographs, just applying it. And every single person in here could go home and do that. But then when you get someone who gets up on stage who's like, well, I've shot with the Rolling Stones, I've shot with this celebrity, that celebrity, my lighting thing, this thing's only like £800, and I've got the new D billion dollar whatever, it's just £80,000 camera. It's not relatable.
No.
So I feel you're not really taking anything away from it. But then you have someone like shooting. We've had people shoot paint on here, balloons, just all different kinds of photography. So what I like about the Photo Live stage is you do get that varied range of different kinds of photography. But you're kind of limited to the stage. We're recording. We've got people talking through the tannoy. We've got horrible lighting in here, and I think the strength of a good photographer is how they overcome the problems and say, when you're on a shoot, something goes wrong, you've got to overcome it. Everything's not perfect.
There's pretty much always horrible lighting whenever you shoot on any location.
Yeah. And I mean, we get to do an episode of He Shoots, He Draws on stage as part of me working for the show, and that's always fun. This year we had Kaylee Greer, which was great to have her over. But yeah, we've had a few good guests up here. And I still make friends every year from the people. Tommy Reynolds. Last year, when I did my report, I said, great, here's the reviews of the shows. And I just want to say, my legend of 2021 is Tommy Reynolds. What a lovely guy. I wish you could have 5 of him a day, because he was just energetic and talks to the audience. And that's the kind of sessions we need here.
I always want to marry Tommy up with Dave Grohl, so we'd have to, the nicest guy in rock and the nicest guy in photography.
And that's what I love, when you get people that much enthusiasm about what they do and a smile. It's infectious, and it makes people want to be around them and learn from them and consume their content. I said to Gavin Hoey today, Gavin's a little bit younger than me, but he's got an awesome TikTok channel and his daughter runs it. But he's understood TikTok's a thing I need to explore. His daughter's running it for him. His content's great. I love watching Gavin.
Actually haven't come across him. That's a really good tip. I will check that out.
Yeah, it's just you just discover one if you come here every year and you discover one new person that gives you something, they'll be around you. You can consume their content, get in touch with them, talk to them, tell them you enjoy their content. It's a lost art of a lot of people is they don't ever say thank you or love your work. And we're creatives. We hate being told off, and we love being praised.
Absolutely.
And just one little praise, just one person coming up and saying, I appreciate what you do, can give you such a lift.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there are lots of positive aspects to be had at the photography show. It's not only the gear, it's the making friends part. It's the educational part.
Yeah.
If you haven't been, make sure you're here next year.
Next year, definitely. Yeah. And it's cheap to get. It's like 10 quid, I think.
Well, and if you're professional, of course.
Yeah, you go again for free.
Exactly.
You will not be disappointed.